Yes, people, what's happening? Nice one for coming back to the Fuse UK. It's much appreciated as always. Tonight's first guest, legend in the game, Danny CHRISTIE. What's happening, brother? You good?
Yes, Lou. How are you, mate? You all right? Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, I can hear you sound, mate. Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good, mate. Sound.
CHRISTIE, how you feeling, bro?
I feel good, mate. Feel good. Had a couple of days off the gym because I killed myself in the first week of camp and I've got the girls. So I've got
Yeah.
school running that all week, mate. But yeah, feel good, as always.
CHRISTIE, how you liking the new car?
It's all right, mate. It's not quite the BMW, mate, but it's a good little motor, like.
Class. I thought before we get into all the new news and that, mate, if we could start it off by getting into BKFC 37 as a whole and the fights that stood out to you the most, pal.
Well, the show was class, wasn't it? You know, they do put on a show, like. Fights that stood out for me. Well, it was there wasn't even any like fights what you could say would have a low standard. Whether there was some good tear-ups. First fight I enjoyed properly was the Jimmy Justice and Kyle Cassidy.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was a real pagger. There were, I don't want to call them novices, but let's just say they're not extensively experienced, but they were very well matched, and I would have loved to have seen another couple of rounds of that because, it wasn't going the distance. Someone was going to go. I think it was just unfortunate that the doctor stopped it when he did, but it was a fair call because that was some lump on Kyle's face, like.
Yeah, I don't think he could. When I seen him after the fight, and like he couldn't see out of it at all. But like he wanted to carry on, like a warrior that he is. But unfortunately, things like that just get stopped, doesn't it?
Yes, mate.
But yeah, it was tooth and nail, that fight. Like,
they were very well matched. It was one of them. It could have went either way. It was back and forward. Every exchange was looking like the other one was going to go, but they hung in there and slugged it out for 2 rounds. It was a good fight for the fans, like.
Yeah, it was. What did you think of the Chaz Wasserman fight?
Oh, mate, I thought it was brilliant. That was another class contest. That Chaz Wasserman's powerful and athletic, and that little Frenchman was a proper show. And it was hard as nails, mate. The pair of them, they've done themselves proud. I think the decision was fair, but it's one of them. If it went the other way, there'd have been no complaining. It was just that hard to score. They were both on the deck that many times. They were both at the moments where they were dominating, and it was a brilliant contest, mate. Love watching it.
Did you see Chaz's ear?
I did, mate. It looked like he hit with an axe or something, didn't he?
Brutal, mate. And obviously, it must have been good to see a good friend Gary Fox make his debut in the bare knuckle.
Yeah, listen, I was proud of Gaz. Obviously, he didn't get it the way he wanted it, and in all respect to his opponent, because he boxed out of his skin. It was a lot better than I thought he was going to be. But that is what it is. Gary will be back. I like the way Gary fought. Even though things weren't going his way, I give Gary the 4th round, but I have to be honest. I'll give that other kid the first 3. When I watched it back, the commentators were saying it was maybe 2-2 going into the last round. Well, I know they like aggression and that, but the other lad was good. He never put himself in the firing line. He engaged when he had to, and he got out of there. I think Gary Fox needs to get down to his proper weight and compete at 10.5 stone when he's got a more of a chance with these lads, because that Nathan, he must have done a good cut. He obviously lives it. He looked in very good shape. And when I seen him on the scales the day before, he was stick thin, and then he come in, blew up. He looked like he had 15, maybe 20 pounds on Gary at least on that night. So fair play to him for doing it right, and he got the job done. So fair play.
Yeah, he's a bit similar to yourself as well, Gary, isn't he? Like, need a shotgun to put you out type of thing. He's just fight. You can't no more.
It's very tough. And listen, I thought with the cut on his face, I thought the doctor was maybe going to stop it at the end of the 4th. And I think, if Gary was sort of stood there sheepish, just staring, I think could well have called it off there and then, but the way he was bouncing about and begging for one more, you know, I think that just tipped there, you know, just swayed the opinion of the doctor, and they let him go out for one more. Like,
yeah, he sent me a video on WhatsApp, mate, of his lip, and it's horrendous, that, innit, mate?
It was up there with probably one of the worst I've seen. You know, it looked really bad. You know, it was a nasty cut, to say the least.
Yeah, and main event, Conatini and Jake Lindsay. What did you think of that fight and the way it went?
I thought it was a brilliant contest. You know, they were well matched, weren't they? You know, that Jake brought it. You know, and like I say, there's some controversy over the stoppage. You know, with some of the fights that were left to continue, you know, I would say from where I was sitting, I was on the opposite side of the ring, 4 rows back. You know, personally, I would let it continue, but, you know, I'm not going to question or argue with the referee. You know, he looked in his eyes and he made the decision at the time. And I think this is the trouble, isn't it? You know, you've got to make a decision there and then, you know, and you're dealing with the safety of fighters. Like, so Conor said he could have continued, you know, and I believe him. But then what if it went out and it had got starched badly in another 10 seconds? We just don't know. You know, I'm glad they both went home safe, because it was one of them contests where they were both picking themselves off the floor. And, you know, I'm a bit gutted for Conor, but Conor will be back. You know what I mean? He's a class act, mate, and his skill set's up there. You know, but again, full credit to that Yank, Jake, because he got the job done. You know, he's a tough, hard man.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And obviously, you've got some news. Well, you've knew for this for a while, but it's only just been released recently. BKFC 40, you're going to be co-main for with Elvin Barreto and Jamie Cox, and you're going to be fighting Anthony Holmes. How are you feeling about that fight?
Oh, mate, I'm buzzing. You know, I'm over the moon that match has been made. You know, I have knew since Christmas about Christmas, but obviously I couldn't say out until, you know, the promotion announced it, and I'm just buzzing. You know, I couldn't be any more chuffed, you know, to engage with him. You know, he's a very credible opponent, triple champion in 2 of the best organisations out there. He's no joke. You know, he's a very serious contender indeed, and it's a big step up, you know, in the competition that I've had. So yeah, you know, it's time for me to shine, mate. You know, it's time to do what I do best and get into gear.
Definitely, mate. And is this going to be for the belt?
There hasn't been mention of it, mate. There was some sort of loose talk of them putting a title up, but nah, it is what it is, mate. You know, whether they do or whether they don't, it doesn't really bother us, mate. I've got the opponent there or not, and everything I need to get motivated, and, you know, we'll see how it goes. Again, you know, I never make any promises. It doesn't matter who I'm fighting. You know, the only promise I can make is I'll give 110% to myself, and, you know, hopefully that'll be enough to get the job done, but time will tell. No guarantees in bare knuckle, mate.
Yeah, and would you say, Dan, that have you ever been more dedicated and as hungry as you are now?
No, you know, absolutely not, mate. I'm walking about, you know, on 2 camps. You know, I'm walking about with 2 camps under my belt, so, you know, I'm in good nick. You know, I'm ready to go now, but there's another, say, month, 5 week of pain to go through, and I'm gonna see to it that I'm the fittest and strongest that I've ever been, and I'll need to be. You know, let's not beat around the bush here. You know, it's going to take 100% of me, you know, to beat this lad, because he's no slouch.
Yeah, and I've seen a recent interview of Holmes on Facebook, and he sounds like he's ready for a war, doesn't he? I don't know if you've seen the interview. Do you think it's going to be a stand and bang fight, or do you think it's going to be more of a chasey type fight?
I'm not sure, mate, you know, because he's unpredictable and he fights kind of different every time. You know, he obviously does his own work and brings the appropriate game plan, you know, on the night. But listen, if he comes, I'll stand in the middle and I'll have it with him. You know, if he runs, I'll have to chase him. But, you know, one way or the other, no matter what he's doing, he's dangerous. You know, he's powerful, you know, and he's clever, he's crafty. You know, he's got all them little tactics and, you know, all that stuff in his locker, you know, to spoil and, uses angles and unorthodox punches, and he's a switch hitter. I just can't wait, mate. These are the fights that I've been asking for, and I'm just buzzing, mate. I'm just absolutely buzzing, mate. All I can see is us two bleeding in the middle of the ring, swapping leather. And that's what I'm visualising when I'm out training and running and that, because by far my biggest fight and my hardest challenge. And that's what I'm here for.
Class. And what would you say Anthony Holmes' strongest points are in his fight game?
Well, he does a lot of things well, doesn't he? I can't really say he does anything poorly. I wouldn't say he's really bad at anything. And let's have it right. He's been in with excellent opposition from the off. I mean, some of the lads he's beat Mason, what they call him?
Mason Shaw.
Mason Shaw. Now, he's a solid fighter. Daniel Lurwell, another tough man. What they call that ex-Marine? Barrett.
Tony Barrett, is it?
Something Barrett. I
know you're on about. There's a Brummy lad in here with a baldy head.
That's him, mate. Another very tough, fit man.
Ryan Barrett.
And he's a lot bigger frame than me. And Darren Hendry, of course. He's been in there with some, bigger men than me. Big rough men, and he's beat them all. The fight where he had a draw with that Kelly, the Yank.
Yeah.
When I watched that,
fight, wasn't it?
It was, but I mean, there was no arguments with the draw. But I mean, personally, I might have give it to that other lad. But it was what it was. There was no arguments with the draw. But I think that was his toughest contest. Listen, mate, we'll just see how it goes. At the end of the day, on paper, this lad's meant to beat me. He's a triple champion. He's fighting in his own backyard. He's got all these dreams of going to America and all that stuff, mate. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm not bothered about going to America. I'm not bothered about titles. I couldn't care less about all that stuff, mate. I just want to be in good fights, and I want to give 100% of myself. So even the fact that the promotion has matched me with this lad, is already a victory for me. After two fights, I'm getting matched with a triple champion who's, who fancies himself for big things, but at the end of the day, he's got to get through me first, and we'll just see how this goes.
Yeah, and as we've seen in Newcastle, it was sort of an away show for him, and he does bring a loud crowd with him, doesn't he? How do you feel like being the away fighters? It's sparing you on more in camp and that?
Oh, 100%, mate. If anything, I feel like it's taking the pressure off us. There's all these things feel like they're taking the pressure off me. And of course, there's always pressure, mate. I'm a fighter. But, the fact that it's at Leeds, he's triple champion, he's got all these dreams and aspirations of going to America, he's undefeated, all this stuff just, really makes my dick hard. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to be involved with, mate, and I just can't wait to get into gear with him.
And how much does it mean to win this fight? How much does the win mean to
you? Well, listen, if you're asking my opinion, mate, I think I'm going to win. Of course I do, but that's my standard mindset when I'm going into any fight. But like I said there, and I'll just go back to it, I think he has to win, Mate, I don't have to win anything. I don't have to win titles. I don't have to go to America. I have to turn up and give 100%. And as long as I do that, mate, I can sleep at night. The decision is in God's hands. Nobody knows how this fight's going to go, and that's the beauty of bare knuckle, especially at this level. You just never know how it's going to go, and the decision will be whatever it will be. I fancy myself for stopping him. I fancy myself for knocking him all over the place. But I'm sure he's got the same mindset, and that's why it's going to be fireworks, mate.
And when you used to fighting that on the unlicensed scene, boxing, did you ever picture yourself being where you are now, 2 fights deep into the world's biggest bare knuckle organisation, co-main on a huge event against the BKFC's first champion in England?
I didn't, mate. I actually didn't. It's one of them. I don't, like I say, I don't have these big visions, and You know, I take things as they come. You know, all I do is turn up and give 100%, mate. And the promotion of, they obviously fancy us, don't they? Or they wouldn't be putting us in with this lad. You know, it's not like mediocre, low-level bare knuckle. You know, this is about as good as it gets in this country. This lad's probably one of the most decorated lads. You know, I dare say he's one of the best light heavyweights, if not the best light heavyweight that's out there. You know, and I'm getting matched with him. So I'm already a winner. You know what I mean? And no matter what happens, mate, you know, win, lose or draw, knocked out, whatever. You know, I'm a winner, mate. I win every day. You know, the biggest battle that I've ever had is with myself. You know, overcoming active addiction for 20 years. You know, so I'm happy whatever. You know, we'll just see how this fight goes. You know, I want a war, mate. You know, I'm training for war. I want blood, sweat and tears. You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking for. And, you know, I'll take it to him, mate. You'll see. You know, I'm not in there to tip-tap about and try and get rounds in the bank and, you know, try and etch a points decision out. You know, I'm trying to take people's chin for a spin. You know what I mean? And you'll see that on fight night.
Quality, mate. I cannot wait for it, honest. And what's a day consist of in camp for Danny Christie?
Well, I've pulled my calf at the minute, so my morning run's kind of out at the minute. But Monday to Friday, I train twice a day. I'll do a strength session in the morning, mix it up something between squats, you know, back, deadlifts, and some bench press. I don't do anything more. I don't train shoulders hardly. I don't train arms or all this complex stuff. I keep it basic, compound movements. And I'll do cardio. I'm doing this sick little circuit at the minute between the skiers, the air bike, and the rower. And it's just crucifying, mate. You know, you finish like 4 or 5 intense 3-minute rounds, mate, and you feel like you need a doctor. You know, you feel like ringing an ambulance. You're on the way up. And that's how far I'm willing to push myself to get this victory over the line. It's just exciting times, mate.
And do you still with your coach Wayne, who was with you in your other camps?
Yeah, you know, Wayne's my man. You know, I absolutely love the man to bits. I've known him 20 years plus. And when I started this bare knuckle, when the call came off the BKFC, I approached Wayne and told him, you know, I know he's a busy man and a lot of people want Wayne's time, you know, because of his experience, his expertise and his knowledge. But, you know, I made it clear to him if he couldn't help us for whatever reason, you know, I wasn't going to do it. You know, if I couldn't do this with Wayne, I wouldn't be doing it. You know, and the fact that I've got Wayne there just brings out the best in us, mate. And it's like probably the best coach, student, fighter relationship, you know, that you can get. I absolutely love the man to bits and, you know, it's mutual.
Yeah, class. It's good to have a good relationship like that in it with a coach and like gel like you do.
Yeah, I think it's vital, mate, to be honest. You can have, you know, you can go with I could go with, you know, Sugar Hill or something, you know, someone like one of these world-class people. I'm not saying I would be able to, but let's just say hypothetically that I was. You know, I don't know the man from a bar of soap, you know, and I think it's important that you've got that that bond. You know what I mean? Wayne knows me as well, if not better than I know myself, you know, and he's there to protect us from myself, you know, because I'm the type of fighter, you know, as long as I can get back to my 2 feet, I will always continue fighting no matter what, you know. But Wayne's got an eye on the game all the time, and you know he loves us enough to be able to protect me from myself, you know, if that day ever comes.
Yeah, I think that's mainly why you're a big draw in the bare knuckle, mate, and why people love to watch you fight, because it doesn't matter if your face is hanging off or anything, you're still going to be there, and you're a good fucking fighter. Do you know what I mean? So no matter who you're fighting, people are always interested. When's Danny Christie's next fight? Who's he fighting next? And to be fighting Anthony Holmes, it's just massive, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is, mate, and I appreciate them kind words, Lou. But yeah, listen, every fight I've ever been in, you know, I treat it like, you know, it's the last fight on earth. You know, I treat it like it's the last thing I'll ever do before I grace the gates of heaven. You know what I mean? And that's how I fight. You know, I'll go out on my shield and I'll give everything I've got, you know, no matter what. Oh, and I see David Round in the comments there. Big shout out, David Round. I should have give his fight with Terry a mention before when we were on about the BKFC at London, because that was a war while it lasted. You know, and fair play Brown for getting the job done, and and getting Terry out of there. And fair play to him for picking himself off the floor after that uppercut, because that was a shot and a half. And David Round, doesn't go down too easy. So how hard he's been hit there. And I've seen him calling me out, and he's wanting to fight with me, mate. And listen, we can make that fight happen, because David Round's the ideal opponent for me. He brings it. He'll stand in the middle, have a trade-off with anybody, and that's right up my street. You know what I mean? A good old-fashioned shootout, and let's see who the man is. So big shout-out David Round. He's got a big heart, and he's a hard kid.
Yeah, he is. Big up David Round. And what do you think of the main card? Obviously, Jamie Cox, and decorated amateur, very good pro, had some big fights, turning over to the bare knuckle, fighting America's Elvin Barreto, former world champion, been in some great fights in the BKFC. What do you think of that fight?
Yeah, mate, the BKFC doing what they do best, you know what I mean? Making brilliant matchups at the highest level, and this is a good introduction for Jamie Cox. I mean, you just have to look at the caliber and the history and the resume and the achievements of Jamie Cox. And they're putting him in there with, a highly fancied, ranked banger. So it's going to be a war, mate. And I mean, I'll always back Jamie Cox against anyone, just with the skill set that he's got, the power that he's got. That backhand and the lead hook, and the fact that he's a southpaw. I think he's going to be very, very difficult man to beat.
Yeah, like it's hard to picture, in it, when people who are that high caliber of a pro, like it's hard to picture him being beat in the bare knuckle, in it. But like one shot can change the full fight, can't it? As we've seen. But I really do have high expectations of Jamie Cox in the bare knuckle.
Yeah, likewise, mate. Once this is I mean, this is his introduction, isn't it? This is his first rodeo, and we'll see how he fares. I'm confident he'll get the job done, on ability and boxing, fighting brain alone. I'm convinced he'll get the job done. But time will tell. There's no guarantees in bare knuckle. You just never know what you're going to get. And, may the best man win.
Yeah, and for this event now for BKFC 40, your tickets out now. And if they are, how can people get them off you?
The tickets will be coming in a couple of days. They're just finalising things at the minute. I don't think any tickets have actually been sold at the moment. Someone can maybe correct me if I'm wrong. But as far as I know, no tickets have been sold. The fighters get first dibs on the tables, and I'm looking at taking a couple of hundred down. I know with the Anthony will have massive support down there. And I do pretty good ticket sales in that myself, and I've got a decent following, which I'm, very pleased about. And, a big shout out to anybody that's coming down and going to show us support, because, without followers, without fans, it'd be a very dull game, this BKFC. And with the growth that it's got and how fast it's taken off, it's appetizing. I've heard a lot of people say in the last couple of months that they don't, boxing fans, good solid boxing fans, say that they don't even watch glove boxing anymore. They don't even give it the time of day. They've got the BKFC app, and that's all they watch. Because glove boxing, it's
boring now, isn't it? It's still good to watch, and I still like watching the amateur boxing, but after watching the band and being so sucked into it, mate, it's just different, innit, mate? Different gravy, man.
Yeah, of course it is, mate. It's I mean, listen, any combat athletes, any unarmed combat athletes, I tip my hat to them. The more gladiators really than athletes. Obviously, athletic ability is required, but when you throw down in a bare knuckle fight, there's no feeling on earth like it. I've had straighteners, I've had street fights, I've had gloved fights. I've been in and out of scrapes all my life, but the feeling that you get from exchanging punches, with a good operator, and when you're in a fight, there's no other feeling like it, mate. No substance on earth can replicate that feeling. Like you can almost, you can almost see the atoms vibrate. You know what I mean? You're right then and there. You never feel more alive. You know what I mean? And it's a drug like no other. All that adrenaline and serotonin and all them feel good hormones that just explode in your body. You know, it's the biggest buzz in the world, mate. I've never had a buzz like it.
And obviously, you're getting adrenaline buzzing that when you're just boxing gloved. But with you doing gloved, street, and bare knuckle, would you say the street and bare knuckle are similar and total different kind of nerves and adrenaline rush to the glove boxing?
Yeah, I mean, even the preparation, even them nerves you get on the run up to, on fight week, and especially on fight day, them little bit of nerves and that fight fear and that little bit of anxiety and doubt. It's a bit more magnified in the bare knuckle because the dangers. You can be losing your eye, and getting one of your eyebrows took off, with the first punch. You just never know how it's going. It's a lot more dangerous, but that's the stuff that I feed off. The more pressure, the more nerves, the more fight fear, the more anxiety. All that stuff makes you much, much more dangerous. You know what I mean? It's do or die. It's fight or flight. It's who's got the biggest balls. And, that's what I'm all about, mate. I love that stuff.
It's good to have the nerves, though, innit? Because I remember speaking to you at Wembley, and you were like, I'm not even nervous. Like, I'm worried why I'm not nervous.
Yeah, of course, mate. I remember that well. The nerves never come till about 40 minutes before showtime. I was waiting about thinking, where are these nerves? Why am I so calm? And then just I was getting my hands wrapped, mate. They all landed, and I was like, hallelujah, here they are, because that stuff for me is, it's essential. You wouldn't be human without that stuff. And that just reminds you how serious of a risk that you're taking, and how much is on the line, physically. So, you need that stuff. I do, especially. I know there's certain nutcases out there like David Round, who it's just another day in the office for David Round, but for me, that stuff's essential, and, I feed off it. It makes us dangerous, makes us faster, more powerful.
Yeah, and what can the fans and everyone expect to see from Danny Christie on BKFC 40 in Leeds?
Fireworks, mate, as usual, 110%. I'm going to take it to him. It's one of them. There's no point having game plans really, to a lengthy degree, because at the end of the day, it's a bare knuckle fight. You need to be able to adapt and adjust there and then on the fly. No good saying you're going to be going forward the whole fight if you get put down and you've got to tuck your chin in and, use angles and sidestep, because these are the type of things that you've got to create there and then, on the spot. So I'll be looking to take his face off. Of course I will, but you never know how this fight's going to go. That's the beauty of it. There's no guarantees. There's no promises. Nobody can, make a safe bet who's going to win this fight, because we're both dangerous. We both hit hard, and we both want to win. So it's fucking brilliant, mate. There's nothing better.
You can hear in your voice how excited you are for this fight.
Yeah, I'm fucking buzzing, mate.
Quality, mate. And before we wrap it up, mate, is there any shout outs, or I know you don't, everyone knows who your sponsors are, but is there any sponsors or anything you want to give a big up to, mate, while we're on a live?
Yeah, mate, BGR Roofing from Bolton, Show Me the Money competitions, and I've got another couple of main sponsors in the pipeline, mate, and we'll just wait till we get them across the line before I start announcing them. But yeah, listen, I do really well off my sponsors. I'm fortunate enough now that I don't have to work full time. I can concentrate on training, and I'm just very, very grateful for everybody that's ever helped us, anybody that's ever followed us, or followed me content and followed my journey on YouTube. I really, really, really thank every one of them. I'm ultimately grateful for the journey I'm on, the changes I've made, and the person I am today. And I love to pagger. That's the bottom line, mate. I'm in the right game because I love to pagger.
He loves it. If you don't get this pay-per-view or ticket, people, you ain't no bare knuckle fan. You cannot miss this.
Yes, mate. Brilliant.
But I appreciate you coming on, Dan. We'll stay in touch like we always do, mate, and get more news and info out for the people on the fight as the closer it gets and that, bro.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. And just finally, a big shout out to the BKFC and obviously Anthony Holmes. You know what I mean? A big shout out to Anthony Holmes as well. You know, there's no disrespect. There's nothing personal. You know, may the best man win. Simple as that.
100%, mate. Big up, Danny, mate. Thank you very much, bro.
Not a problem, Lou. Have a nice night, my man. Bye-bye. Bye-bye for now.
You too, mate. See you later, bro. Bye. Yes, people. Danny Christie, BKFC 40 versus Anthony Holmes. You cannot miss this. Don't be waiting about to look for it the next day for a link to come out or the Fire Stick. You won't get it on the Fire Stick. Just download the app. Less than the price of a pizza. I think it's £8. Works out about £7.90 or something like that. Cheap as chips. And that's not just that fight. That's every single BKFC card. And have you seen the superstars who were turning over now as well? Luke Rockhold, Eddie Alvarez, Chad Mendes already there, Mike Perry, Austin Trout. And you've got all the English lads, Connor Tini, Danny Christie, Mick Terrell, all the boys, all fighting on there for that one little monthly fee. BKFC, people, that's the app. Go on the App Store, BKFC, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. It's a black, it's like that. The logo will be like that. Download it now on the App Store and don't miss out on this. If you can't get a ticket and make it there, you must download the app. Respect everyone who jumped in there as well. Much appreciated. I've got another 2 podcasts tonight as well. I've got Lee Brown from Liverpool, who's just had his second fight for the BKFC against Mason Shaw, BKFC 37 London. And we've also got former world champion who never lost his belt, one of my favourite fighters, Dat Gwyn. He's back fighting Daniel Strauss, ex-UFC fighter. So stay tuned, people.